Mohammed Nawed, the captured terrorist who was taken alive, has been moved to Srinagar. But as we remember his name, what about the names of the two BSF soldiers who were martyred? You're seeing those images on your screen now, the heartbreaking stories of Constable Rocky and Constable Subhendu Rai, who so valiantly sacrificed their lives fighting terrorists and keeping India safe. Questions, of course, as tributes pour in, continue to multiply. We now know that the captured terrorist infiltrated through the Kashmir Valley, through the Tangdar route, and that he came in 1.5 months ago. We also know that he used a truck to come all the way from the Kashmir Valley to Udhampur, where he had specific orders to target military convoys on the south side of the Banihal tunnel. We also know that while he has remained contradictory about several accounts, including his name and when he infiltrated, he has remained consistent about one thing, that he is from Faisalabad in Pakistan and that he was trained by the Lashkar-e-Taiba. Talking to us not just about this incident but also about the larger security situation on the ground is the Director General of the Border Security Force, DK Pathak, at a time when two of his soldiers have been martyred and at a time when we have seen so much action and so much friction at the international border where the BSF stands guard. Mr. Pathak, thank you for your time, and first, on behalf of all of us, our admiration and our condolences for the loss of the two soldiers who are martyred. It must be extremely difficult for their families at this point. If you can tell us a little bit about both Rocky and Subhendu, I think we must start with that.
As you know that we have a escorted convoy system between Jammu and Srinagar. Whenever people come and go from leave, they are taken to their respective places of duty in an escorted convoy. So was the convoy today, which left Jammu at around 5:30 in the morning, our transit camp in Jammu, headed for Srinagar. As they crossed around 7:30, they crossed Udhampur, around 15 kilometers ahead of Udhampur towards Srinagar. One armed person suddenly appears on the middle of the road, firing at the bus, targeting the driver. In fact, at the very first fire, the driver was injured and he moved close to the bus and he went around the bus firing, deflated the tire and tried to enter the bus. While he was firing, his other partners who had taken position in the hillside close by, he constantly kept on firing on the bus. The one militant who was trying to enter the bus had a grenade in his hand. What is notable that in this bus, which was a part of the convoy, had only one security component, that is in the form of Constable Rocky, who had AK-47 with him. Sensing danger, he immediately locked the door from inside and fired at the militant, and immediately he was neutralized, and the grenade which the militant was intending to lob inside the bus exploded outside. The splinter caused by that explosion caused injury to the occupants of the bus, and in the meantime the other militant kept on firing at the bus, which resulted in the injury to 14 persons. In this entire incident, 2 of our brave soldiers martyred and 14 are injured, out of which 6 were operated upon in Army Hospital Udhampur, for whom we are greatly indebted to the prompt assistance provided by the medical setup of Army in Udhampur. That's how the 6 more patients' lives were saved, and rest of them are in fact, all of them are now perhaps out of danger.
Well, we're glad to hear that. We're glad to hear that, Mr. Pathak. We're glad to hear that the others are out of danger, and that account you gave us of how lives were saved by Constable Rocky and Subhendu is, of course, inspiring. But let me ask you, as the person who's literally in the hot seat heading the BSF, what we are seeing happening at the international border in the region of Jammu, we're almost seeing a revival of militancy in this larger region. What can you tell us about that?
You see, I wonder whether it would be right to say the revival of insurgency. I would say that revival of, the insurgency has been continuing. There have been constant attempts at infiltration through the IB, I think almost last 1 year. And if you take account of the recent times, I would say that almost every week we file one infiltration attempt on IB. Even last week we filed one attempt early in the morning around 5:30 or so, two militants were trying to infiltrate through Aknur sector in Jammu area. So it has been going on. In fact, this has been a continued affair, I would say that way.
Would you say that it has been much worse in the last few months or the last 6 months or the last 1 year? Because the border, the IB has never been live in the way that I have seen it now. We are seeing a ceasefire violation, as you mentioned, every couple of days. How do you see the situation at the border? What do you make of the Pakistani intent? What is happening exactly on the ground? Even the area we've seen where your convoy was attacked, the highway. What is the significance of that, and how do you see the Pakistani intent?
You see, let us take the account of the events that have taken place on the IB, particularly in the Jammu area in last 1 year.
Yes.
If we recollect, last year since the month of May till about the month of November, almost for 6 months there have been almost daily, with little break here and there, there have been cross-border firing. I think that had seen that 6 months of period had perhaps seen the largest number of cross-border firing in so many years. Thereafter, from November to say till about May this year, for 5-6 months there has been lull. Now again for last 2 months or so, there has been revival, and cross-border firing is not a very uncommon thing. Infiltration attempts are not very uncommon things that has been happening in IB, particularly on the Jammu border.
But do you see a shift
So
in the...
I won't say that it has been quite, yeah.
Do you see a change?
Yeah, please.
Because, you know, there's a sense that there is a greater aggression from the Pakistani military, that we are seeing a spate of incidents that we had not seen for a while. You know, ceasefire violations are one thing, but a terror attack as it took place on the highway is quite another.
There have been similar terror attacks in the past also. This is not an isolated incident. Yes, this is an isolated incident in this part of the area. I mean this part, because Udhampur area had not seen such attack in almost, I would say, almost about 2 decades. So in that way, it's an isolated incident. But still, I won't like to draw any pattern out of this incident. It's too early to draw any pattern.
But that's important, that the Udhampur highway, which came under attack, has not seen such an attack for 2 decades. I think that's an important point you make, Mr. Pathak. Let me ask you, what can you tell us? What more do we now know about this captured terrorist? It's fantastic that he was taken alive. It will obviously help all of you to piece together a narrative. We know now that he's actually been in the Kashmir Valley for the last 1.5 months. What can you tell us about you know, who has sent him, how many people entered with him, were there any terrorists that escaped? There were initial reports that when the hostages were taken, there were other terrorists that had escaped.
Let me put the things in perspective, and it's important to put the things in perspective. Our role so far as in this incident is concerned was over after this encounter was over, the militant was neutralized, we shifted our injured person to hospital, and whatever little more follow-up action was required to be done. Now, what the captured militant is revealing, what is he stating, what is he telling is all a matter of investigation, which is being done by the state police, and perhaps now NIA has also joined the investigation.
Yes.
So it's not my mandate. Investigation is not the mandate of BSF. So it would be better that this question is asked from the people who are doing the investigation.
But sir, can you confirm to us, okay, fair enough, but can you confirm to us that, you know, when this encounter was taking place and your men were coming under fire, and Constable Rocky and Subhendu did such a courageous job of protecting the convoy, at that moment this terrorist also tried to take civilians hostage. Now, at that moment, in that confusion, there was an impression that there may have been another terrorist who has escaped. Is that incorrect? Can you confirm that there were only 2 terrorists and one of them is dead and the other has been captured?
No, see, I have spoken to all the injured persons who were in a position to talk and speak and narrate the incident. As per that, it appears that there were only 2 militants. There could be 3. It's very difficult to say for me at this stage. That would be revealed and confirmed by the during the investigation. But what we know that one militant came close to the bus, was neutralized. Other militant who had taken position on the hillside, he was constantly firing. When he saw that his colleague has been neutralized, then perhaps he got panicked and he ran away for safety. During the process of running away, he took hostage 3 civilians who ultimately turned out to be members of Village Defence Committee.
Yes.
And getting a right opportunity, 3 of the brave people, they pinned the militant down and they called the police, and the militant was handed over to the police. And the rest is the part of the investigation which will take place.
Finally, Mr. Pathak, to come back to the fact that you say in the last 2 months there has been a revival of trouble at the international border. What are some of the most challenges that the BSF faces at the border?
Challenges, what we feel that in the backdrop of repeated attempts for infiltration, if we are able to file, if we are able to not allow it to happen, that is our biggest challenge, and I think so far we have been very effectively meeting this challenge. About this incident, I would also like to highlight one thing. Look, that in any ambush situation, the choice of the target, the place of the target, the time of the target, that's all the choosing of the person who is ambushing it. In this case also the same thing happened. The militants, they choose their target, they choose the BSF to fire at. They choose the place from where they fired at. They choose the timing at which they fired at. So whatever was their first choosing, they did.
Yes.
What is more important, that what was the retaliation of our trained force? I would say that this retaliation is an example of bravery and courage that Rocky and other person who displayed and exhibited,
yes,
which is a very, very noteworthy thing. Retaliation is more important than falling into the ambush.
Yes.
Because ambush, you can, in spite of your best of the measures, best of the security arrangements, still you could be ambushed.
Yeah.
But if you are able to retaliate effectively, that is where the training and expertise and everything comes, which has been very amply displayed in this particular case.
Well, thank you, DK Pathak.
And I feel proud to,
Yes,
and I feel proud about it.
I think we all feel proud of Constable Rocky and Constable Subhendu. In fact, if we can end with their images, just remembering those 2 brave soldiers that that the Director General of the Border Security Force, DK Pathak, is talking about, Constable Rocky and Constable Subhendu. Those are our final tributes to those 2 brave soldiers. Thank you so much, DK Pathak, for joining us on this special broadcast. Those are our 2 heroes whom we remember today.